I'm Trevor Stevenson, and welcome to Your Story Will Be Different. This is a narrative play podcast where I tell you the stories that come to be from playing a solo tabletop role-playing game. For this session, we're playing Castle of Memories by Purple Moon Games. This is an exploratory solo tabletop role-playing game in which you play a character that wakes up in a castle with no memory of who you are and how you came to be there. It was greatly inspired by the Castlevania games of old, and of course that means I instantly took a shine to it. With that said, let's dive right in. His salt and pepper eyebrows furrowed as he slowly opened his eyes. He was greeted by the dim, flickering light of torches that adorned the stone walls of the mysterious room. Disoriented and surrounded by an eerie silence, he tried to make sense of his surroundings. The cold, damp air clung to his skin, and the looming shadows seemed to dance with secrets. Attempting to rise, he felt a strange heaviness in his limbs. Panic surged through him as he realized he couldn't recall anything about who he was or how he ended up in this dark castle. His mind was a blank canvas, void of any memories. In an attempt to gather his bearings, he stumbled towards an ornate mirror that hung on the wall. As he gazed into the reflective surface, a wave of relief washed over him. His name echoed in the recesses of his mind, and his age became apparent as he studied the face that stared back at him. Winston Hutter, a name and identity partially reclaimed in the fleeting moments of self-discovery. The mirror revealed a man of a certain age, with weathered features that hinted at a life filled with experiences. Winston's reflection held a silent promise of forgotten tales and untold adventures. As he turned to look at the room behind him, there was no way for Winston to see that his reflection lingered in the mirror and stared with malice. Determined to unravel the mystery surrounding his presence in the castle, Winston's eyes shifted from the mirror to the room itself. In a corner, he noticed a peculiar collection of objects, an axe, and scattered pieces of armor. Eager to grasp any clues that might linger among these artifacts, Winston examined the items with growing curiosity. As he pieced together the armor, an instinctual familiarity with the process emerged. It was as though muscle memory guided his hands in crafting the protective layers that now adorned his body. The cold metal and leather melded seamlessly, forming a set of armor that seemed tailored specifically for him. Just as Winston began to feel a sense of empowerment, a subtle shift in the darkest corner of the room caught his attention. Out of the shadows emerged a skeletal figure, its bones rattling as it lurched toward him. Reacting on instinct, Winston brandished the axe and intuitively engaged in a fierce battle with the undead foe. The clash of steel against bone echoed through the castle walls, and Winston fought with a skill that seemed ingrained in his very being. The skeleton, a remnant of some unknown curse, crumbled under his determined assault. However, as it fell, an unexpected transformation unfolded. A radiant white light enveloped the skeletal remains, casting an ethereal glow across the room. The once malevolent creature now emitted a gentle brilliance. In its final moments, the skeleton's body disintegrated, leaving behind a shimmering mote of light. This radiant essence hovered towards Winston and, with serene grace, entered his being. As the luminous mote merged with Winston, a memory surged through him. The memory of that fateful night with his father hit Winston like a torrent. Years ago, in the warmth of the family home, he had pleaded with his father for the family sword, yearning to join a war and restore honor to his family name. However, his father, stern and unwavering, had refused, forbidding Winston from venturing into the conflict that beckoned him. Unable to accept the denial of his quest for valor, Winston had waited until the cloak of night shrouded the household. Silently, he stole into the heart of the home, retrieving the family sword from its resting place. The cold steel felt both weighty and empowering in his hands as he slipped away from the familiar surroundings. The memory, now crystal clear in Winston's mind, brought a mix of emotions: regret, defiance, and the resolute determination of youth. Yet something had changed within him since that night. The ethereal light that had merged with him after defeating the skeleton manifested itself in a tangible form, the ability to summon an ethereal version of his family sword. In the depths of the castle, Winston tested his newfound power. With a focused thought and a determined will, he called forth the spectral sword. The air shimmered with energy as the ethereal blade materialized in his hands, a ghostly echo of the ancestral blade he had once stolen. Winston marveled at this new ability, realizing that it carried not only the weight of his past, but also the essence of the enchanted light that had fused with him. This weapon spell, an embodiment of both his family's legacy and the mystical power bestowed upon him, became an extension of his being. As Winston explored the castle, this skill might prove invaluable in battles against the otherworldly foes that guarded the mysterious halls. Its strikes were swift and true, carrying with them the echoes of his family's honor and the courage he had long sought to prove. Stepping out of the initial room, Winston found himself in a long, foreboding hallway adorned with countless doors, each concealing mysteries and challenges. Driven by the burning desire to unravel the secret of the castle, he selected a door and entered a room that held a daunting test of agility. Upon crossing the threshold, Winston was greeted by the rhythmic sound of mechanized scythes swinging through the air. A dozen oversized blades, gleaming with an ominous metallic sheen, formed a gauntlet that seemed designed to test the limits of his reflexes and nimbleness. At the end of this perilous obstacle course rested a satchel overstuffed with gold coins. Undeterred, Winston steeled himself for the challenge. He navigated the intricate dance of blades, his movement a testament to the agility he had honed over his nameless adventures. The scythes swung with a relentless precision, but Winston gracefully weaved through the deadly onslaught, his every step a calculated gamble against the metallic pendulums. As he neared the end of the gauntlet, the mechanical scythes increasing in intensity, Winston's heart pounded in his chest. Yet with a final, daring leap, he reached the gold. Swiftly, he snatched the satchel, feeling the cool weight of success in his hands. The room fell silent as the mechanized scythes came to a halt, acknowledging Winston's triumph. Winston marveled at his prize, recognizing it as not only a symbol of his agility, but also a possible key to unlocking the castle's deeper mysteries. The next room seemed suspiciously easy compared to the previous. Winston cautiously scanned the room as a radiant ruby glittered, captivating in its brilliance and the promise of untold rewards. With the ruby secured, Winston pressed on through the castle, emboldened by the challenges he had overcome. Each room held new tests, each corridor whispered of some unseen malevolence, and yet Winston remained resolute in his quest. He hoped the Dark Castle would yield its secrets one by one, and that his journey continued to unfold as manageably as it had so far. Hours later, weary from his journey, Winston stumbled upon a room that seemed to offer respite. This chamber, a sanctuary amidst the foreboding halls, was a safe harbor, stocked with provisions. The air held the comforting scent of food, and the shelves were lined with supplies, nourishing sustenance, medicinal elixirs, and pristine water. Grateful for this unexpected haven, Winston allowed himself a moment to rest, replenished his strength, and tend to any wounds acquired during his perilous exploits. As he partook of the provisions, he felt a restorative energy coursing through him. The healing properties of the medicine and the replenishing sustenance worked wonders, rejuvenating his body and spirit. The safe harbor provided a brief respite from the challenges that awaited him in the Dark Castle. Feeling invigorated, he decided to continue his quest and open the next door. Little did he know that the next room held a different kind of challenge, a test of strength. Upon entering, he beheld an array of colossal stone pillars, each engraved with ancient runes that hinted at the formidable nature of the trial. At the center of the room stood a sturdy-looking shield, guarded by the very essence of strength itself, colossal weighing scales and large stones. Upon closer investigation of the apparatus, Winston discovered that if the scales were balanced, the shield would be released. Determined to overcome this new challenge, he squared his shoulders and prepared for the test. The room seemed to resonate with an aura of raw power. This trial demanded feats of physical might, pushing Winston to the limits of his strength. Yet despite his valiant effort, the formidable obstacles proved insurmountable. A sense of defeat settled over him as the colossal pillars seemed to mock his attempts. In a cruel twist, the treasure, a valuable artifact that could have aided him in his quest, crumbled and shattered before his eyes. The room echoed with the sound of destruction as the once promising reward disintegrated, leaving only the remnants of what could have been. Now burdened by the weight of failure, Winston stood amidst the ruins of his aspirations. This room, once filled with the promise of triumph, became a testament to the unpredictable and unforgiving nature of the castle's challenges. Undeterred by this setback, Winston took a deep breath, resolved to press on, knowing that the path to redemption was fraught with both victories and defeats. Another doorway led him to a room that challenged his balance and concentration. This time, the space was adorned with precarious platforms suspended over an abyss, requiring Winston to navigate with precision and poise. As he traversed the treacherous terrain, Winston felt the unforgiving nature of the challenge. The ground beneath him shifted, and the air seemed to whisper taunting echoes. Each step demanded a delicate balance, and every movement required unwavering concentration. Despite his best efforts, Winston faltered on the final stretch of the test. The platforms betrayed him, sending him tumbling into the abyss. Another glittering treasure, a beacon of potential success, awaited him just out of reach. He found himself on the other side of the expanse. The prize disintegrated into ephemeral fragments as Winston's hope crumbled. Leaving this room with a heavy heart, Winston found himself in a new wing of the castle, a vast expanse of interconnected greenhouses. Gargantuan in scale, these glass structures housed a mesmerizing array of exotic flora, their vibrant colors contrasting sharply with the ominous atmosphere of the castle. The greenhouses seemed to form a labyrinth of botanical wonders, each section offering a different climate and ecosystem. Winston marveled at the diversity of plants, some of which he recognized from distant lands, while others remained mysterious and otherworldly. The air was thick with the scent of blossoms and the hum of life. In spite of the enchanting beauty, Winston remained vigilant, knowing that the greenhouses held their own challenges and secrets just like the rest of the castle. As he ventured deeper into the verdant maze, the interplay of light and shadow revealed hidden paths and concealed dangers. He felt the gaze of something unseen weighing on him, but as he turned, only the sound of skittering met his senses. Amidst the lush greenery of the interconnected greenhouses, Winston's footsteps echoed through the verdant corridors. As he immersed himself in the captivating beauty of the botanical wonders, a particular arrangement of flowers triggered a dormant memory within him. A moment when justice was denied. In the quiet solitude of this room, Winston's mind was suddenly inundated with the painful recollection of the past, a torrent of memories crashing against the walls of his consciousness. The wound of injustice ran deep, a scar etched into his soul by the cruel hand of fate. The haunting image of his father's murderer being released on a technicality loomed large in Winston's mind. The courtroom drama, the hollow victory of the legal system, and the bitter taste of an unresolved vendetta filled his thoughts. How could the wheels of justice turn so callously, allowing a cold-blooded killer to walk free? His fists clenched, and a surge of anger coursed through his veins. The family sword, once a symbol of honor and strength, suddenly felt like a heavy burden. Taking it with him when he went off to fight the war had seemed like a noble gesture, a tradition passed down through generations. Little did he know that he would leave his father defenseless, exposed by the whims of a broken system. Regret gnawed at Winston's conscience. He replayed the scene in his mind. The moment he left, the firm grip of the hilt on the sword, the proud stance. But now, in the quiet aftermath of time, he couldn't escape the haunting realization that his choice had unwittingly stripped his father of a crucial means of defense. The room echoed with Winston's lamentations, a symphony of sorrow and frustration. The family sword, once a source of pride, now felt like a silent witness to the tragedy that had befallen his family. As Winston grappled with the weight of his decision and the injustice that had befallen his father, the room seemed to close in on him, suffocating him with the inescapable pain of the past. Empowered by this recollection, Winston felt a surge of magical energy coursing through him. In that moment, Winston discovered a new spell in his arsenal, the ability to send his enemies soaring in the air, a manifestation of the justice he sought. Armed with this magical ability, Winston ventured deeper into the interconnected greenhouses, weaving through the flora with a renewed sense of purpose. The memory, now a catalyst for justice, fueled his resolve to confront the challenges of the Dark Castle. After a few more long hallways in the greenhouses, the most unusual thing came to Winston's sight. Another human. A woman, younger than him but not by much, seemed rooted to the bench where she hugged her knees. Hello. His words seemed alien after all the solitude he had spent in this place. She turned to look at him, her puffy eyes locked with his.
Who are you? How did you find me?
I can't answer a lot myself. I know I'm Winston Hutter. I'm not sure where we are exactly. I'm just making my way through this place myself.
You're doing better than I am, Mr. Hutter. I keep telling my legs to get up and go, but they just won't listen. I don't know how long I've been sitting here, and I'm out of tears at this point.
She strained a smile of recognition and handed him a token of respect, if not appreciation. An ornately carved pistol that vibrated with arcane power.
Take this. I'm not gonna need it. May it bring you luck.
The air was thick with humidity in the next room, and the scent of exotic flowers hung in the atmosphere. However, the tranquility was shattered when a monstrous man-eating plant emerged from the shadows, its grotesque tendrils poised for attack. Reacting with instinctive swiftness, Winston drew his axe, preparing for the imminent confrontation. The monstrous plant lunged forward, its hungry maw aiming for Winston. In a well-timed strike, Winston landed a powerful blow with his axe, causing the plant to recoil. Undeterred, the monster plant retaliated, its sinuous tendrils striking with ferocious speed. Winston, displaying agility and combat prowess, managed to evade the creature's counterattack. The room echoed with the clash of weapon against gnashing vegetation as the two foes engaged in a dance of life and death. The battle raged on, each combatant trading blows in a relentless exchange. Winston's pistol and axe gleaming in the dim light as he fought with determination. The monstrous plant, though formidable, struggled to land a decisive blow on the skilled warrior. However, as the confrontation intensified, the monstrous plant's relentless assault took a toll on Winston's armor. The once sturdy protection now showed signs of wear and vulnerability. In a sudden surge of aggression, the plant unleashed a devastating attack that tore through Winston's armor, leaving him exposed and vulnerable. Winston gathered his resolve. With a fierce swing of his axe, he struck a decisive blow against the monstrous plant. The creature convulsed, its monstrous form withering and crumbling under the might of Winston's final assault. The room fell silent, the scent of defeat mingling with the lingering fragrance of exotic flowers. Winston, battered but victorious, stood amongst the remnants of the monstrous man-eating plant. In the aftermath of the intense battle, Winston found himself flooded with a new memory. A calmer breeze swept through as he found refuge in a seemingly mundane yet distinctly memorable moment from his past. It was a day etched into the canvas of his life, a day when logic prevailed and saved him and his wife from unnecessary expenses. The memory unfolded like a well-preserved photograph, capturing the details of a routine transaction at a small antique shop. Winston and his wife, hand in hand, browsed through the eclectic array of trinkets and treasures. They stumbled upon a beautiful antique clock that caught their attention, its intricate design and timeless allure drawing them in. As they contemplated making the purchase, Winston's analytical mind kicked into gear. He remembered noticing a small flaw in the clock, a barely perceptible imperfection that escaped the shopkeeper's attention. It was a flaw that, while inconspicuous to the untrained eye, held the potential to influence the price. Rather than succumbing to the immediate allure of the clock, Winston decided to engage the shopkeeper in a conversation. With a calm and composed demeanor, he pointed out the flaw and discussed how the imperfections might affect the clock's value. The shopkeeper, initially caught off guard, appreciated Winston's honesty. Logic became the guiding force in that moment, and a fair negotiation ensued. The price was adjusted to reflect the imperfection, and Winston and his wife walked away with a beautiful antique clock at a more reasonable cost. It was a small victory, a triumph of reason over impulse, and a memory that Winston held dear. In the quiet recesses of his mind, this recollection provided a brief respite from the weight of more profound and painful memories. It served as a reminder that even in the mundane aspects of life, logic and reason could weave moments of triumph, however small they might be. As this memory settled within him, Winston felt a surge of magical energy once again as a new spell unfolded in his arsenal. The ability to reverse gravity on an opponent, a power rooted in the logic of everyday physics, became an unexpected but potent addition to Winston's repertoire. Eager to test this newfound ability, Winston pressed on through the interconnected greenhouses. The vibrant flora seemed to part before him as he ventured into another room, discovering a treasure that piqued his curiosity. An ancient scroll of history inscribed in an unknown language. The intricate details of the cryptic symbols hinted at the secrets concealed within its pages. With the ancient scroll in his possession, Winston continued his exploration, entering the next room of the greenhouses. To his relief, he found a safe haven, a room equipped for rest and recovery. The air held a calming aura, and the surroundings offered respite from the trials he had faced. As he pressed on, one of the rooms in an adjacent alcove turned up a crown standing on a pedestal. It seemed to be made of platinum that remained bright and shining despite the dismal nature of the room. He pocketed the crown and continued on his way. Winston entered a vast atrium within the greenhouses, the air heavy with the scent of bizarre blooms. However, the tranquility was shattered as a giant scorpion, its monstrous claws poised for attack, skittered forward and ambushed him. Reacting swiftly, Winston drew his ornate pistol and took aim at the colossal arachnid. The shot, however, missed its mark, and the scorpion retaliated with a swift attack. Determined to fend off the monstrous creature, he swung his axe. But the agile scorpion dodged the blow and counterattacked. The exchange of attacks continued, with the scorpion proving to be a formidable adversary. It struck Winston again, its pincers threatening to crush him. Feeling the urgency of the situation, Winston summoned his ethereal family sword, its spectral form glowing with an otherworldly radiance. With a precise strike, he finally landed a hit on the scorpion, causing it to recoil in pain. Enraged by the attack, the scorpion lunged at Winston once more, but this time its movements were erratic. Seizing the opportunity, Winston unleashed another spell. The power to reverse gravity took hold, and the scorpion found itself pinned to the atrium's ceiling, helpless against the sudden shift in forces. With the scorpion suspended above, Winston carefully lined up a shot with his pistol. The room echoed with the sharp report of the firearm as the bullet pierced the arachnid's exoskeleton. The giant scorpion, now lifeless, hung from the ceiling, its threat neutralized by Winston's strategic use of spells and weapons. As the echoes of battle faded, Winston surveyed the atrium, its grandeur juxtaposed with the remains of the defeated scorpion. The interconnected greenhouses, once serene and filled with wonders, had once again become a battleground. As the giant scorpion's life force dissipated, another radiant white light emerged from its fading form. A radiant beam of light illuminated a cherished memory from a bygone era, a time when joy flowed fluently between he and his wife, long before the shadows of illness cast their veil over their lives. The memory unfolded like a scene from a romantic novel, set in the bloom of their courtship. On a bright and sun-kissed day, they embarked on a whimsical adventure into nature, the kind that sparks the flame of young love. They found themselves in a picturesque meadow, where a blanket was spread beneath the shade of an old oak tree, and the air was filled with the sweet melody of birdsong. Winston, ever the romantic, had a surprise tucked away for the special occasion. As they sat side by side on the blanket, he presented her with a single, delicate flower, a token of his affection and an emblem of the beauty that he found in her. The blossom carried the essence of their shared laughter, whispered promises, and unspoken dreams that danced between them. The simplicity of the picnic became a canvas for joy. They laughed, shared stories, and reveled in the simplicity of each other's company. The sun cast a warm glow on their happiness, and for a fleeting moment, the world outside their secluded haven ceased to exist. In a tender gesture, Winston's wife carefully tucked the flower into a book, preserving not just the physical bloom, but the emotions that surrounded that moment. The pressed flower became a silent witness to the enduring love that would weather the storms of time. As Winston reminisced about that day, a bittersweet smile played on his lips. The memory, untouched by the passage of years and untarnished by the trials they faced, was a testament to the profound joy that love could bring. It was a memory he held onto dearly, a beacon of light that pierced through the darkness of illness, allowing him to momentarily escape into the warmth of their shared past. Empowered by this new memory, Winston felt a surge of protective energy enveloping him, and he realized that the memory had granted him another new spell, a shield of love and joy to guard him against harm. With this newfound ability, Winston continued his journey through the dark castle, traversing yet another long hallway. The memory of love and joy lingered within him, serving as a source of strength and resilience in the face of the castle's relentless trials. Entering a room at the end of the hallway, Winston discovered a utilitarian treasure, an imposing kite shield. Crafted with sturdy material and adorned with intricate details, the shield promised enhanced protection against the perils that awaited him. Recognizing the practical nature of such a tool, he added the kite shield to his growing arsenal. In the seemingly empty room within the greenhouses, Winston's senses heightened as he felt an ominous presence. It wasn't until the door behind him closed and vanished that the two dryads revealed themselves, ethereal beings with an air of enchantment about them. The battle that ensued was arduous, with Winston facing the dual threat of the Dryads' agility and their mystical allure. He fought with calculated precision, avoiding direct eye contact to shield himself from the potential charms that they might wield. The dance of combat unfolded as the Dryads launched ethereal attacks, their movements fluid and deceptive. As the skirmish unfolded, weariness settled upon all involved. Winston, determined to overcome the enchanting adversaries, focused on tactics and resilience. The Dryads, too, were not without their own exhaustion, the magical energy sustaining them beginning to wane. In a strategic strike, Winston managed to defeat one of the Dryads, disrupting the harmonious balance between the elemental sisters. The remaining Dryad, infuriated by the loss of her kin, intensified her attacks. The room echoed with the clash of steel, ethereal energies, and the haunting melodies the Dryads produced. Despite the fatigue that weighed on him, Winston summoned his ethereal family's sword and used his axe with unyielding resolve. The battle reached its climax as he skillfully evaded the remaining Dryads' attacks and retaliated with precise strikes. The enchanting being, now alone, fought fiercely, but was unable to withstand Winston's determined assault. In a final exchange of blows, Winston delivered a decisive strike that incapacitated the second Dryad. The room fell silent as the ethereal beings dissipated, leaving behind an air of melancholy. Once again, as the echoes of combat faded, the bodies of the defeated Dryads faded away. Another radiant light flowed into Winston, bringing with it an everyday memory of ideas. In the recesses of Winston's mind, he found a treasured recollection of an ordinary yet profoundly joyful moment from the tapestry of his past, a memory that embodied the simple pleasures of parenthood. It was a day when the winds whispered the promise of adventure, and a kite danced in the azure sky. The memory unfolded in a backyard, where Winston and his young daughter, filled with the boundless energy of youth, decided to seize the day. The winds outside were robust and spirited, a perfect opportunity to breathe life into a vibrant, colorful like kite that had been waiting patiently in their storage. With enthusiasm bubbling between them, Winston and his daughter set out on a mission. They unfolded the kite with care, its tails fluttering in anticipation, and Winston began imparting the timeless wisdom of kite flying. He explained the delicate balance of tension and release, the art of letting the wind guide their flight. As the kite soared into the open sky, tethered by a string held firmly in his daughter's small hands, A burst of laughter filled the air. The sheer delight on her face mirrored the untamed joy of the fluttering kite above. Caught up in the magic of the moment, Winston reveled in the purity of their shared happiness. With each gust of wind, the kite danced and twirled, creating a symphony of colors against the canvas of the heavens. Guided by the invisible forces of the wind, Winston encouraged his daughter to savor the thrill of the present, to embrace the fleeting nature of the moment. In a simple act of flying a kite, a lesson unfolded. An unspoken philosophy that encouraged seizing the day, embracing the winds of change, and finding joy in the ordinary. It was a memory painted upon the hues of innocence and spontaneity. A moment frozen in time where father and daughter bonded over the sheer magic of a kite dancing in the wind. And as Winston recollected that day, a tender smile graced his face. For in that memory, he found solace and a timeless connection to the spirit of his daughter's laughter. This unexpected recollection granted him a new spell, the ability to command and summon the winds at will. Empowered by this elemental magic, Winston marveled at the potential applications of such a spell and the challenges that lay ahead. Feeling the weight of exhaustion from the battle with the Dryads, Winston decided to take a well-deserved 1-hour rest. He found a quiet spot within the echoing halls of the dark castle and allowed the restorative power of the memories and spells to invigorate him. Once rested, he ventured forth into another echoing hallway. Choosing a door at random, he entered a room to find of all things, merchant. In this foreboding place, the merchant greeted Winston warmly, and they exchanged best pleasantries possible in such circumstances. Winston's eyes were drawn to the glint of polished metal behind the merchant's stall. As he approached, the intricate details of a set of armor unfolded before him, a dazzling display of craftsmanship that spoke of the battles won and history etched in steel. Astute to Winston's interest, the merchant greeted him with a knowing smile.
Fine, sir. I see you have an eye for true quality. This set of armor is a masterpiece, forged by the skilled hands of a renowned armorer in a distant land.
Intrigued, Winston began to inspect the armor, feeling the weight and balance, tracing his fingers over the meticulously engraved patterns. The merchant, recognizing the glimmer of desire in Winston's eyes, seized the opportunity to engage in conversation.
Indeed, this is a rare find, crafted with alloys not commonly seen in these parts. It provides exceptional protection without compromising on agility.
The merchant explained, his words weaving a tale around the gleaming metal. Not one to let an acquisition slip away, Winston expressed his interest in obtaining the splendid armor. The merchant, sensing a potential trade, leaned in, his voice hushed in a conspiratorial tone.
I sense a discerning customer. I'm willing to part with this magnificent piece, but not for mere coin. Perhaps, good sir, you have something of value to offer in exchange?
In the folds of his belongings, he produced the ancient scroll. The merchant's eyes widened with curiosity as Winston unfolded the parchment for him to see. A relic from a time long past, Winston mused. Its contents may be of interest to scholars and collectors alike. After a brief but intense negotiation, a deal was struck. The ancient scroll, with its secrets and forgotten knowledge, would change hands, and in return, Winston would don the magnificent armor that had captured his attention. Despite having gained a foothold in this dark and unforgiving place, at that time, Winston could never have guessed the truth behind this prison and what would be his ultimate salvation. We'll go ahead and leave Winston's story there, and we'll conclude his story next time. Thank you again for listening to Your Story Will Be Different. And thank you to everyone who's been reaching out to tell me about their adventures in their solo tabletop RPG. It's great to hear other people enjoying these games as much as I have, and I'm also excited to hear more suggestions as they come through. If you're interested in reaching out, the best way to do that is to reach out via Twitter/X at YourTTRPG. We'll be back in 2 weeks to conclude Winston's story. But in the meantime, as always, I'm going to put a link in the show notes to Castle of Memories. Feel free to check it out for yourself, see what kind of labyrinth you're going to find yourself traveling through. But just remember, your story will be different.